So we will discuss in detail how the bearings are classified or what are the different types of bearing. So generally bearings are classified under three major heads. First one is depending upon the type of friction. Second is according to the direction of forces acting upon the bearing. And last one is depending upon the type of rolling element which is generally used in the bearing. So under these three major heads the bearings are classified. Now in detail we will study one by one. So we will start with first head, that is nothing but classification of bearing depending upon the type of friction. So see here, depending upon the type of friction, the bearings are classified into two main groups. First one is known as sliding contact bearing and second one is known as rolling contact bearing. So we will start with the sliding contact bearing. So I will show you the figure of sliding contact bearing. So this is a sliding contact bearing. Here there are major elements like shaft. You can see here this shaft is also known as a journal. It supports the load in a vertical direction, and you can see here at the outer side there is a bearing, and in between the outer surface of the shaft and inner surface of the bearing a rubber bush has been fitted, and the shaft and these bush surfaces are separated by means of a lubricating oil. So we will see what is sliding contact bearing. So you can see here the sliding contact bearings are also known as plain bearings, journal bearings or slip bearings. And here the type of contact between this particular shaft and this bearing is of sliding type. Okay, that's why it is called as a sliding contact bearing. Means what happens exactly, I will just show you. Assume that this is a bearing, right, and this is a bush. This is a bush. So what happens here? You can take this shaft, and this shaft is eccentric with the axis of the bearing, and in between them there is a lubricating ball. So whenever the shaft is rotating, means like this is the surface of the bearing. Suppose the shaft is rotating, so it is rotating like this. So while it is rotating along its own axis, it is going to touch with the inner surface of this bush or the bearing. So the type of contact between this outer surface of the shaft and inner surface of the bush is of sliding type. That you can see here, the type of contact between outer surface of the shaft and inner surface of the bush is of sliding type, and due to this sliding contact a large amount of friction is created, and due to that there will be rise in temperature. So minimize this wear and tear and minimize the temperature and friction, the lubricating oil will be placed, or lubricating oil is placed in between the shaft and the bush. Okay, and the type of contact between these two elements is of sliding type. That's why it is called as a sliding contact bearing. See here, the contacting surfaces make a sliding contact. That's why it is called as sliding contact bearing. The next one is rolling contact bearing. So depending upon type of friction, the bearings are classified as sliding contact bearing and rolling contact bearing. So we have studied already sliding contact bearing. Now we will see what is rolling contact bearing. So this is the figure of rolling contact bearing. Just now also we have seen the terminology of rolling contact bearing. So where you can see this is the inner race and this is the outer race of the bearing, and in between the inner race and outer race these are the rolling elements. And here the type of contact between the, or I will say here the type of contact between the two elements of rolling type, that's why it is called as a rolling contact bearing, because the rollers are placed in between. Now we will see in detail. Here the contacting surfaces have rolling contact, and the rolling elements such as balls, sometimes other than using balls rollers are used, surface which has been fixed to the outer race which has been fixed to the frame. And here, as the elements are in the form of balls or rollers, the type of contact is of, I will say, rolling type, and due to that the low friction is offered. That's why rolling contact bearings are also known as anti-friction bearings. The rolling contact bearings are also known as anti-friction. And here, if I will compare it with the sliding contact bearing, the sliding friction is replaced by the rolling friction. So this is the first type, that is depending upon type of friction. So we have classified the first type, that is bearings depending upon the type of contact. Now second head. Second head is bearings are classified according to the direction of force acting upon them. So there are two directions depending upon which the bearings can be classified. The first one is called as the radial bearing, and second one is called as we will see what is the radial bearing first and what will be or what is the direction of force as far as the radial bearing is concerned. So see a radial bearing, and this is the figure of radial. So you can see here, this is the shaft, it has been supported in the bearing, and this is the frame. Okay, and if you observe, the force which is acting onto the bearing or which is acting onto the axis of the shaft or axis of the bearing is perpendicular to its axis of the shaft. The direction of force is perpendicular to the axis of the shaft and the bearing. That's why it is called as a radial force, and the bearing which supports the radial load is called as a radial bearing. Okay, so radial bearing supports the load which is perpendicular to the axis of the shaft and the bearing. So you can see here, this bearing supports the load which is perpendicular to the axis of the shaft or the bearing. So this is perpendicular, and the bearing which supports the perpendicular load which is in direction perpendicular to the axis of the shaft or bearing is called as a radial bearing. Okay, so second bearing we will see, that is called as a thrust bearing. So what is that? So in case of thrust bearing, if I will see the figure and if I will compare the radial as well as thrust bearing, you can see the direction of force acting on the bearing. So this is the frame, this is the bearing, and this is the shaft with a collar. And if you observe the direction of force, it is acting along the axis of the shaft and the bearing. Okay, so I will define the thrust bearing is like this. The bearing or the thrust bearing supports the load which acts along the axis of the shaft and bearing. The thrust bearing supports the load which acts along the axis of the shaft and the bearing. Okay, which is called as the thrust bearing. So this is our second type. Now third type, depending upon which we are going to classify the bearing, that is nothing but the classification of bearing depending upon the type of rolling element in the bearing. Okay, so I am just classifying it depending upon type of rolling element which are most frequently used. So first one is deep groove ball bearing, second one is cylindrical roller bearing, angular contact bearing, self-aligning bearing, spherical roller bearing, taper roller bearing, thrust ball bearing, and needle bearing. So I am classifying the bearing depending upon the rolling element introduced between the two elements.